Jeff, you know I love the San Diego Chargers. Our good friend and webmaster Sean Zizzo, who is kind of the man behind the scenes. He lives out there on the West Coast. He loves the San Diego Chargers. This week, the Chargers traveling to Buffalo. San Diego seemed to get back in a rhythm last week. I mean, they really did the Patriots.
Oh, they dominated that game from start to finish. It was a thing of beauty, to be certain. LT had a good per carry average. He's struggling with a bit of a toe right now, but he is still running hard, so that's good to see out of him. You know, Jesse, to me, this is the game of the week. Buffalo on fire to start the season. They had a little bit of a letdown right before their bye, but coming off the bye at home, I think this is a trap game for the Chargers.
It very well could be. I mean, you mentioned Buffalo playing well. The only game they lost this season so far is the game where Trent Edwards went down in the first quarter,
concussion,
and they had to hand the reins to J.P. Losman. But in that contest, Marshawn Lynch just not much of a factor. I think Marshawn Lynch is really the key to what Buffalo is trying to do offensively. When he runs well and they get him the ball enough times, 20, 25 touches a game, this guy is a feature back in the league. The club can beat anyone. So I think this is a very hard-fought game here. I totally agree with you. San Diego is heating up right now. Phillip Rivers has been hot all season. But it's really tough to pick a winner in this contest, although I do think that there are still some pretty solid fantasy plays.
Oh, I definitely think there's going to be a high-scoring game here, a lot of fantasy points. You touched on Marshawn Lynch. One thing that he gives to the Bills is the ability to run a really effective play action. And he's good at selling that fake. And what that does is that frees up Lee Evans. Lee Evans has great speed, but he's not the biggest guy. So when you can trick the secondary into thinking that Lynch has the ball and get him loose, he only needs a step, and he's got that blazing speed. You've got Robert Royal and James Hardy working underneath. That provides room for Lee Evans. I love him here in this game, and I think that the Bills are going to come home with the victory. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now, and I think it's going to be a great game.
Now, if Chris Chambers doesn't play here, we saw Vincent Jackson absolutely explode last week on Sunday night. He had a couple really long plays, scored a touchdown. Is Vincent Jackson a must-play in Chris Chambers' absence?
Well, you know, I definitely think that he's a great play when Chris Chambers is out, and I do think that the positivity that he's got going, when players step up to that next level, they tend to stay there, and he's doing a great job. He's 6'5", and he's a young guy, and so he's just getting to his full potential. So I do like him a lot in this contest, especially if Chambers doesn't play. They have Gates. They mix LT and Sproles into the passing game. That keeps things open for Jackson. I think he's a great play.
Moving on to the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling down to Cincinnati. Now, these two clubs have been longtime division rivals. A couple years back, this matchup was really heating up. The two teams split in 2006 and then played in the playoffs when Carson Palmer blew out his knee. Ever since then, it's been all Steelers. The Steelers swept them last year. Hines Ward caught 2 touchdowns in both meetings. Dude, it's hard to pick the Bengals to do anything but lose this game lopsided fashion.
Well, and when they lost Carson Palmer in that playoff game, they weren't the same team. Now Carson Palmer's dealing with a severe elbow condition. It's uncertain exactly what it is, but they're talking IR with this guy. And I'll tell you that it's going to end the fantasy season of all Bengal offensive players. So keep a close eye on this. I think the Bengals could get smoked here, rolled up like yesterday's doobie and just puffed down. No kidding. It's going to be insane. I love every play from Pittsburgh. One development, Willie Parker retweaked his knee. What did he do, Jesse? Stepped in a hole?
Yeah, Willie Parker. They said, the report I read said he stepped in a hole while he was running at practice, tweaked his MCL. You're going to have to watch to see if he suits up, because if he doesn't, Muweldy Moore, hey, I mean, you could start Muweldy Moore this weekend if Willie Parker sits.
Why do the Steelers have holes in their practice field? That's so stupid. You're better than that. You're an NFL club. Keep your players healthy by making sure they have a flat surface to play on. I like Muweldy in this contest. I don't think Willie Parker's going to play. It's going to be a rout. Santonio Holmes makes a good play, and I like Ward and Heath Miller.
Yeah, I mean, basically the only thing Cincinnati has going for them typically is the long play, the long bomb pass to Chad Johnson, and Pittsburgh's the only team in the league to not allow a 40-yard pass play this season. Ryan Fitzpatrick won't get it done.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals get shut out here.
Oh, yeah. Sell all your Bengals as soon as possible.
Now, Dallas had some tough news this week when Tony Romo came down with a broken pinky at the end of last week's devastating loss to the Cardinals. The initial reports were that Tony Romo was going to miss 4 or maybe 5 weeks with this broken finger, but Romo back at practice already this weekend. I wonder if he's maybe dipped his finger into a magic healing balm type of a situation. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe he won't be back. I mean, we don't know, but the Cowboys play against the Rams, so, I mean, they still have a plentiful bounty of fantasy.
I think that if he dipped his finger, it was into a magical healing blonde, Jesse.
There you go.
So I do think that Dallas is gonna go ahead and come back into their true form. Even if it is Brad Johnson under center for the Cowboys, which is more likely. St. Louis played above their heads and got their first victory of the season last week against the Redskins. That was a bit of a fluke in my opinion. I think they could take that momentum into their house and be a little bit expecting more than they can achieve in this game. Dallas has a lot of question marks. It could implode on them. They lost Pac-Man Jones to suspension now. He's pretty much an idiot and has checked himself into rehab. We hope that goes well. But Dallas, I don't know. It's tough to say. This could be a trap for them, but I do think they get it done.
Well, I mean, here's the thing for Dallas is they have not looked good in their last 3 games. And over those last 3 games, they're 1-2. Mm-hmm. This is a club that has high expectations. And this week, owner Jerry Jones pulls out the wallet, his free spending ways. They went ahead and made a blockbuster trade. You talked about it at the top of the show. They brought in Roy Williams from Detroit. So I don't know if Romo plays here or not. If he doesn't, Brad Johnson would be under center. It's tough for me to start Brad Johnson because I just don't think he's got a lot of arm strength left. But Cowboys fans have to be elated here because once Romo comes back, this offense with Marion Barber, Jason Witten, Terrell Owens, Roy Williams, I mean, Patrick Creighton is still in the fold. Miles Austin looks sweet. I literally think that this offense that's been assembled here is going to just cause defenses nightmares upon nightmares once Romo comes back. But in the meantime, it's going to be the Marion Barber show.
And Marion Barber is going to benefit greatly from the acquisition of Roy Williams. Now defenses, they don't know what to do. Do we cover the pass? Do we cover the run? Marion Barber has been steady throughout this entire time, even though they've been losing. Their offense is probably the best that we've seen in a couple years. Roy Williams makes a huge boost here. I would say he's probably not the greatest start right now because it's a new playbook, new city, new team to get to know and everything. He'll be popping here in the next couple of weeks. T.O.'s going to love it because fewer double teams. It's going to be great. I think they get the victory right away, a big morale booster for them to bring in Roy Williams. Got to love him. And on the other side of the ball, since St. Louis is at home, I do like Steven Jackson.
Yeah, you can play Steven Jackson here. I mean, it's not like Dallas's D is of the shutdown nature or of the shutdown ilk, so you can roll him out. But all the other plays on the Rams are a little too dicey, and I do think Dallas will right the ship here and get a win, even with Brad Johnson. So the final matchup of this segment, Baltimore against Miami. Now, Baltimore has long been a team, Jeff, that brought the D. I mean, that's how they won the Super Bowl back 5, 6, 7 years ago. That's how their defensive identity has been the nature of this club. Now, you look at them this season, they've got a new coach. You think maybe their defensive players are getting older, but here they sit 6 weeks into the season. They're number 1 against the run on defense, number 1 against the pass, and the number 1 overall D. Playing Miami.
And one of the best fantasy defenses in the land, so you definitely want to play them here. Chad Pennington, a little bit of a noodle arm, so they should have some opportunities at some lofty thrown balls in this game.
Right.
Miami has been surprising this year. They've beaten some very good teams, and I do think that they have the stones to win in this game. They match up very well against the rushing game, which Baltimore isn't that good at passing the ball. So if Miami can neutralize Baltimore's run game, they could open themselves up to a possible victory here. It all starts with the Wildcat formation and Ronnie Brown. Definitely start Ronnie Brown in this game, but don't expect much scoring at all fantasy-wise.
I think in this game, the winning team could score somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 to 17 points. Ronnie Brown is a guy you got to start because, I mean, you can't have him on your bench on the week he goes off for 5 TDs. But I personally think Ronnie Brown is going to do a little bit more like what he did last week where he had between 50 to 70 yards and probably a touchdown. Not a lofty game here. I mean, Baltimore is a stout defense. They got housed last week against the Colts, embarrassing fashion. They're still number 1 after that, so that tells you how well they were playing before that. So, but on the Colts side of things, Willis McGahee, not a guy you can trust on a fantasy level. LaRon McClain took a big giant poop on fantasy owners last week, myself included in 3 leagues. I hate you,
How'd that
LaRon
smell,
McClain.
bro?
But I'm recovering. I'm moving beyond it. But, you know, I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, there's really nothing you can do, and when you look at this game, you think yuck, because neither team is real stellar on offense. You know what, the Wildcat formation is something that I enjoy watching because it shows an outside-of-the-box approach. We've talked about it a couple of times. I think that's something that can become more of a trend for this team. I think that they should kind of make that their identity and continue to do positive things with it. I love it for them as far as their draft goes because they can go out and draft a rushing quarterback. And imagine if they got Juice Williams. They could split him out to wide receiver, run a little reverse, and let him huck the ball out there to Ted Ginn. So it's something that we're watching, and it could be a new wave in the NFL. It's very fun to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're having fun on the show. We hope you're having fun too. Check out our website, testosteronesports.com. We'll be on there after the show on the Fat Chat. We've got one more segment left to go, so don't go anywhere.
Come on back.
What's up, fantasy football junkies? It's Jesse talking to you about my favorite fantasy football website on the web. That's testosteronesports.com. Of course, it's my favorite because it's the website that goes hand in hand with this show that we love to do. The website, also a labor of love. But you're probably saying, Jesse, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you is total league domination. The reason you've got to check out testosteronesports.com is we break down all of the matchups on a weekly basis. We have a bench start article that comes out every single week. Right after the show, we host a Fat Chat where you can come online with us, ask us your matchup related questions. We'll tell you who we think you should play and who we think you should stick on your fantasy bench. It's all about dominating your fantasy football league. And the best part is all of the content is updated daily and it's all completely free. Yes, that's right. You don't have to pay $49.95 to find out if your player practiced on Friday. I do up-to-date player profiling for all of the different players that are pertinent to your fantasy information, so you don't have to worry about going through a bunch of information that doesn't matter to you. All the players that we profile on our website, testosteronesports.com, are all fantasy relevant guys. So get on there, online, check it out, testosteronesports.com. There's games that you can play on there. It's just there's a plethora of things on there for the fantasy football junkies, and it's free, 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 free. I know everybody loves free things. My favorite thing in this life is free beer, but next to free beer, it's free fantasy football. So get online, check it out, testosteronesports.com to help you dominate your fantasy football league.